Avowed. Will it be good? Don't know. Will it be woke? Hopefully not. In any case, it's in the hands of everyone's favorite, trusted YouTube reviewers. So this is gonna be something.
And we are sitting down to talk about Avowed. I went hands-on with this game for a couple of hours via a digital preview opportunity provided by Xbox, so I got to play it here in the comfort of my own home. And this preview is really well timed because Xbox has...
That almost seems like a slight dig at Xbox to not flying him out to a hotel and spa and, all of the good stuff that typically you're supposed to get when you're reviewing something fairly.
Has been insisting for a while that Avowed was delayed out of 2024 because, there's just a lot of games coming out right now, particularly in the realm of Xbox. You had Stalker 2, you had Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 when it's actually playable, Black Ops 6, and of course Indiana Jones is coming up soon as well. So it kind of...
Indiana Jones is pretty much already confirmed a disaster. The pre-orders for Indiana Jones are not even 1/10 of Dragon Age Veilguard. And Dragon Age Veilguard already did not sell almost anything. Oh boy, I am excited for that one because the indie game is gonna be sad. It's just gonna be sad.
Made sense, but the timing of this preview is great because the rumor was that Avowed was going to release in November. So taking a look at this build was a odd angle for me to be like, what if it did come out this month? How would we be feeling about it? So it's a good gut check on that front. I got to see the game's first open area in Dawn Shore and explore all it had within it.
Looks pretty decent, I have to say. Again, I don't think the art style or graphics are bad.
I also got to see the game's prologue and character creator. I can talk about that with you, but I can't show anything, unfortunately, as of this point.
Just tell us how far the boob slider goes. That's pretty much a litmus test nowadays for games.
Time. So the question is, if Avowed was to release in this month like originally it was supposed to, would it have been in a great enough state? Did Xbox truly delay it because it was already fine, but it's just in a better spot now? I don't know too much about that one. I do think there are some tech issues here. They're not in a massive abundance here, but there are some things that definitely need ironing out before the games are released. I'll get into all of it, but first, a quick word from today's sponsor. The following video...
The video already is by itself a sponsor. What do you mean?
Problems was a great mattress, and here's how Helix Sleep can something more firm. Helix Sleep Midnight.
Bro, how long is this promotion? Holy crap. Also, Helix Sleep, I'm available. Just saying.
So the main thing that stood out to me while playing Avowed is the open-ended level design. This is really different from any Obsidian game you've played before. It's very different from Fallout New Vegas, where you could just talk your way through things. It's very different from the Outer Worlds, where you could definitely shoot or talk your way through things. In this game, you can stealth. In this game, there are multiple options of approach, and I found it to be refreshingly great and fitting for an Obsidian game because the choice wasn't just in its dialogue and how I would handle my approach with certain situations, but also how I would crawl about the level. I felt there was an equal level of choice there. The areas are much bigger feeling than the Outer Worlds by comparison, whether it be the towns or the plethora of locations for you to explore. If this is an idea of what the rest of the game may be like, then I personally underestimated Avowed's scope. For comparison, Dawn Shore reminded me of Monarch and...
Wait, this is quite bad. I'm actually looking at the dialogue. Look at this. Adventurers, I've come in search for lost treasure. Have you heard of any rumors of such things in the area? Real fucking quaint there. Really not on the nose. Jesus. Okay, this is pretty bad. This is a strike because once again, we are being treated like children. Autistic children at that.
Personally underestimated Avowed's scope. For comparison, Dawn Shore reminded me of Monarch.
I suppose so. Actually, there are some popular ruins to the north, just across the river. Oh no! Nah, this is really bad. If this is how they're gonna handle dialogue, aka like you're being a child that's being told something, that ain't good. Maybe this is a one-off case though. I am strong in the feeling that Avowed hopefully will not be an $80 shit show.
Monarch, and Monarch.
But if it is, I'm not buying it, and I'm probably not buying it in general. I am looking in other websites to acquire a license for it.
Was the largest area to be found in the first Outer Worlds game. I know it's been a lot of years since then, but that was still a big, open, expansive area, and I was surprised by how sprawling, Avowed really was, especially in this opening area where normally they keep things tame, but it was really well done, and I was enjoying the moment-to-moment exploration of seeing things in the distance going, hey, what is that out there? And checking it out and finding something cool within. That was a great feeling that I've missed for a long while. But really, I think the level design clicked for me when I was approaching a Zorip base. And it was this fortress that was just full of enemies. And I went through pretty much head on up the middle. And it wasn't until afterwards that I was doing what I call a loot sweep, checking out all the dead bodies, seeing what I missed along the way. Now that everyone's dead, I can freely pick from all the chests and everything, that I found a Zorip.
Such innovative strategies for playing games. Hoo, hoo, hoo.
On the outside, asleep next to an explosive container. So I figured, well, this is an easy kill. So I shot the explosive container, and it popped open a hole in the wall that opened up a completely different entrance to this fortress that would have allowed me to enter from the backside, and actually got a couple more stealth kills than the more guns blazing approach that I took. Quite literally, I did have a gun in my hand in this fantasy game. It's wild. We'll talk about builds in a little
Okay, that's kind of nice, I guess.
bit. But that was a moment I went, oh, wow, there was more options here than I really thought were available to me. Like, I went up the gut, stealth where I...
So, instead of one option, there were two. That's more than I expected. That's a very, very strange sentence.
could, but there was actually this side entrance that could have been completely way more quiet. You can also use the elements to reach different areas. For example, I'll use a fire spell, or I told Kai to use his fire spell to burn down some spider webs. So you'll have moments like that throughout. And I'm not judging it because it is early on in the game, but I do hope for the rest of the game these become more complex and kind of reward my creativity in a way like I'd say a Breath of the Wild does, because the interactivity is there. So I'm hoping that it does elevate as the game goes on, and that these were just kind of training wheel moments. If it is just as it is, it'll be fine. I just think
What is this gameplay?
maybe a little bit of missed potential.
Yo!
Because again, I think the real heartbeat of this game, I mean, you have the Obsidian elements there in dialogue and in choice. We'll talk about that. But it really is this level design. And I feel like if they tap into the maximum potential for that, you got something really good here. Now, all of this exploration I did was actually never interrupted by loading screens. Like, once I got to Dawn Shore, I was there. But that also means that, no, there isn't that Skyrim moment of stumbling upon some ruins and finding a sprawling dungeon within, at least not yet. I found when I was playing in third person, which we'll also talk about in a little bit, this tower.
Is this a climbing challenge?
And I was scaling it, platforming it. And at the end, I found this totem that you can set up within your camp. And I guess there's multiple of these collectibles. And so that's kind of the driver for the exploration in this game, is the cool loot that you're going to find. And there are a lot of unique pieces, at least labeled as such. I don't know across the stretch of the game how that's going to scale out, but I kept getting really unique pieces of weapons and armor that look completely different from anything else I was seeing in the game, which you already know. That just drives me forward. That just checks something off for me that goes so far. You can't go everywhere, at least not right away. There is a little bit of rubber banding. For example, I found a godless ruin, and it was inhabited by a bunch of bandits, and they were kind of like tier 2, it seemed like. They had a little number 2 next to their health bars, and I tried to take them out anyway, but they wiped your boy out really quickly. So I had to stay humble and live to fight another day. I'll come back to them a bit later. So you can't
Heavily segmented. It's not great, but it's not really the worst case scenario. Okay.
can't just go complete unhinged exploration, but there is a lot of fulfilling stuff to find. I found an abandoned shack, and I ended up jumping on the roof and breaking down the roof itself and dropping in and finding a chest in there. So there is a lot of good stuff to find here, and I just loved exploring the levels because, especially as someone who loves Obsidian games, it was just very different. Like, most of the times you're just on the ground, and I appreciate that. That's totally fine for me. So this is a big evolution in that, and I think they've handled it really well so far. Now, when you're not exploring, you can settle down at party camps. You can upgrade stuff while you're at the party camps, but I think the best draw here is going to be having a chat with your party members.
For most people, getting sent to the living lands is a punishment.
So I got to sit down and talk with Kai, and this is a good time to hide.
But according to Cintric, you're the personal envoy of the Emperor of Adar himself. Quite a position. Thank you for telling me something that should be, kind of. Okay, I'm not liking the dialogue. Again, everything is like non non human esque currently, and we have seen well not a lot of dialogue. And this was what I was saying will actually determine is the game good or not. Well, at least role play wise, the dialogue. And currently, not impressed.
Highlight something I mentioned in my first preview of Avowed, which is that the conversations in this game can be very long in a good way. Like, I love that when I'm choosing to settle down and have a chat with one of my party members, that we can really get into the weeds of it. Like, we were just recapping all the things that happened since we first met, and then there were plenty of questions afterwards that I could have asked Kai just to learn more about him, learn more about this world. And I just love how, similar to an older BioWare game, I can just dive deep into these characters and spend a lot of time talking to them. So I really enjoyed those moments of respite, especially because at nighttime when you're at the party camp, the way the lighting is done, the way the environment looks, really, really pretty game. And I mean, just, it's a looker in general.
You almost said pretty gay.
I mentioned this in my first preview as well back in August, but I feel even more sure of it now that this is Obsidian's best looking game yet. And I definitely think it is one of the better looking games I've seen in recent memory. The world, the character models, the lighting, it's just really well done. But
then when he jumps, he kind of levitates forward. Not good.
This is where there's a little bit of an asterisk on that. We delayed the game.
Yeah, you see what I mean?
Because it was just a better month for the game to release in, and as well, better for the Xbox business, because there are technical hiccups that you'll find. For example, when I was first starting to explore Dawnshore, it is very pretty, but I was seeing the world loading in right before my eyes, just sets of trees, buildings, things were constantly loading in before me. Fortunately, we do have a few months until the game's release where that is something I can imagine is ironed out. However, this doesn't scream to me, yeah,
Wait, what was that? What was that? Your armor could use some work. Let's check the watermill for supplies. What the fuck is that even? What does armor have to do with a watermill for supplies? Can you be more on the nose?
Can imagine is ironed out. However, this doesn't scream to me, yeah, the game was pretty good to go, but we just wanted to give it a few extra months because that's better for our players. The frame rate does dip a decent amount when you're in third person as well. It's definitely below 60 FPS, not coming close to 30, at least in my experience with playing on my PC, which has a 3080 8
Rauatai, you don't abandon good supplies. I wonder what happened here. Where the fuck do you abandon good supplies then? Like, why? Why have that sentence there? Why can't it be, strange, this abandoned supplies? Well, why can't it be something like that? Something a normal person would say. For example, like, what happened here? Not good, or whatever. But fuck you, no.
Close to 30, at least in my experience with playing on my PC, which has a 3080 8-core processor and 32 gigabytes of RAM. But the frame rate does dip. And also, I mean, as much as I like the third person, I wish there was a quick hotkey to switch to that. At least in my playing, I did not see this. You would have to go into the game options menu and toggle that on, because I went first into...
Wait, so everything hidden here is... These explosive crates are just randomly everywhere, is that it? Not good design.
Game options menu and toggle that on, because I went first into the...
Am I supposed to feel good about myself that I found a secret which was obviously shown to me by explosives? Bro, if the developers are retarded, it doesn't mean we the players are like that, okay? Don't push your own self onto others, developers.
The controls and thought, oh, maybe it's just not in this build at all. But then I found it, again, as I mentioned earlier, in the game options. So you have to switch it on and off through there. And this kind of stinks, because one thing I love in, say, any BGS game is I'll get a new piece of armor or a new weapon, I'll equip it, I'll go in third person, check myself out, admire my look for a moment, and then I'll go
Yay, I have never done that.
back to first person. The fact that I have to go into
I
menus
don't even know how to switch to third person in Fallout.
and swap that out, at least right now. I hope it's something they can figure out where there's a hotkey you can press to kind of just flip between these two, because
Also, I don't actually know how to use the flashlight in Fallout. Never felt that it's also necessary.
man, oh man, would it be a difference maker. There was also one conversation I had with an ambassador.
Not that she has any interest in ecology. Lord Dwyn is obsessed with our security, sees enemies lurking around every corner. Okay, that's not exactly that bad of a dialogue if we have pretext.
Where the audio just straight up disappeared when I first met him. And at first I thought like, oh, it's an earlier build from where the game is supposed to come out. Maybe this line just hasn't been recorded yet.
But while you and I answer to the Emperor and Steel Garrote, I answer only to themselves. Wow.
Because of the release date they set, but then the guy just started to talk afterwards and I could hear him clear as day.
What? Why? He said, am I the only one who's reading this sentence? But while you and I answer to the Emperor, why can't it be like while we answer to the Emperor? That sounds so much more human in my opinion.
I just started to talk afterwards and I could hear him clear as day. So yeah, there's a decent amount of technical issues here for sure. Enough popped up where I would say, yeah, this game needs a couple more months, where the release date feels right. But I just want to make sure you all, through my experience, can at least read through some of the corporate speak that you were seeing on the other end and not just gobbling it all up. Now, on the gameplay side,
what a hero.
Side of things, oh my word, there have been some improvements since that August build I played. For starters, the over-reliance on finishers isn't really there anymore. That was something I complained about because it just felt like every enemy I was killing was going into a weird, long, janky slow motion, and then you'd pop the enemy, they'd be dead, and it was cool at first, but it was happening so many times. Now there's a stun gauge. When you stun the enemy, you can choose to do that, and it is fulfilling because you have to work to stun them. So when you do let loose that big attack, especially with like the wand, when I did it on this bear boss after I met the ambassador, I was just...
So the combat is the best part of the game currently. It doesn't seem that bad, you know? So, exploration, mediocre, okay? A lot of things seem just to be, autistically laid out for you because you can't think for yourself. And the dialogue seems iffy at best, kind of currently a little bit on the bad side. Again, way, not believable at all. Not believable at all.
Oh my God, man. I brought up a bunch of elements from the ground itself. It was actually really cool. I was like, that felt satisfying. And that's where I realized okay, I haven't seen this until this point in time. That's a much better balance compared to what we were getting before in that earlier build. So less of a reliance on that. I think the visual feedback is where it needs to be when it comes to combat. So much so that I forgot this was a concern/complaint of mine in the months leading into this preview.
Yeah, the combat looked bad previously. Now it looks acceptable.
So that was really nice.
But yeah, currently, so the combat looks like the best part of the game.
See, and the last thing I would like to call out is stamina management. I don't know if they tweaked this, but it felt, at least in the early game, much more important. Like, just like in Oblivion, where every action you take would cost you stamina. It's the same thing here. You're going to be dodging a lot. You're going to be jumping a lot. You're going to be swinging a lot. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're going to be spending stamina where you can't just go in gung-ho. So there's a little bit of in and out with it, which I thought was also an improvement. Maybe I'm just recognizing it more now, but it felt much better in the terms of combat. And while the level design is open-ended, so are the builds. And there are so many different weapons and options that you have early on. It is truly overwhelming. Like every weapon I found, oh, a wand, I want to try that. Oh, a gun, I want to try that. Oh, a sword, I want to try that. Ooh, a dagger, I want to try that. Oh, a two-handed axe. Okay, I want to try that too. There were just so many things headed my way that I wanted to try. It was ridiculous. Now, Avowed does support multiple equipment builds, so you don't have to make too many tough decisions. At least in the early going, you get to switch between two equipment loadouts. So I kind of had my ranged weapon option and my close range weapon option. But if you're having a tough time deciding, you do have at least two sets of equipment that you can switch between, which I think at least eased some of the pressure I felt. Still, reading over all the ability options and attributes is a monumental task unto itself. And that doesn't even get into the companion abilities you also have. When you look at the attributes, there's two examples I want to call out. might, which impacts your damage, and then dexterity, which impacts your attack speed. So you could build to kind of rush these two and just have a character that can wield a typically slow swinging weapon with much greater efficiency. Or you could do what I did and kind of make this ranger wizard hybrid build. So at close range, I would have my wand and my spell book, and I was really enjoying that. But then when I was at range, I was using my arquebus, and that thing changed my life. That made me really
Arquebus? Oh yeah, it's actually called an arquebus. Okay, questionable.
fall in love
Still
with Avowed and how the levels were laid out and how I was picking enemies from a distance. And I loved how I'd like pop someone in the head and they'd all look around like, yo, who just did that? They didn't immediately detect you. And I thought that was nice because after coming off of Stalker 2, where I would pop one person and everyone would know where I was immediately, I like how this game, there's a little bit of confusion, so maybe I can get a second shot off before everyone goes, oh, the gunshot came from over there. So yeah, great equipment options, great ability options. Some of them are just passives like, oh, your wand does 25% more damage. Some are unlocking spells that would be in the grimoire permanently. So then maybe you swap out that grimoire you have for instead a different grimoire that has other spells that you typically wouldn't have. And now your options are really starting to open up in an impressive way. And that doesn't even get into the godlike abilities that can really turn the tide of.
I'm not hearing a lot of actually things I want to know about the game. I'm not gonna lie, boys. I'm kind of not hearing anything. But forced to gouge everything that we truly deem necessary about knowing is the game good or bad from just random shows of gameplay.
Of the battle. So there's a lot here. I'm definitely optimistic when it comes to gameplay builds. I hope it stays on this trajectory, but after my Dragon Age the Veilguard preview, where I was very optimistic about build quality in that game, yeah, I'm going to take a breath here and just...
Yeah, the moment the money stopped coming, he was like, well, Dragon Age Veilguard is shit. Who would have expected? Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, surprising.
Wait to see the final product in that manner. Now, I can't show you the character creator. I thought it was decent, but I didn't like how my character came out. The godlike features that you have to attach to your face, like these plants, or my character has, I don't know what's coming out of his face, but it's just not good looking. I don't know how else to put it. I don't like when a game has characters that I don't really like to look at. And I kind of feel that way about most of the characters I've seen so far in Avowed. Maybe I'm just getting used to it, but even though I love Kai's voice actor, it's the same one as Garrus. Like the way he looks, just not really feeling it. There's a character in the prologue that is like insane looking. And so maybe I just have to adjust to this world a little bit more. In fairness, I have not played Pillars of Eternity yet. My overambitious goal in my mind is to be able to finish that.
My overambitious goal is to end this video. Okay, what do we think, boys? Combat probably the best part of it, which is nice, I guess. But the dialogues, the hidden stuff, seems Dragon Age Veilguard tier, honestly. The hidden stuff, it's not really hidden. We saw the other videos where their puzzles are slightly harder than Dragon Age Veilguard's puzzles that are literally probably designed to insult your intelligence. Yeah, questionable things. Anyway, that was Mr. Matty Plays. Bye-bye.